Based on the evidence presented, this court finds in favor of the plaintiff and awards full damages.
The courtroom felt unusually heavy that morning, as if the air itself anticipated conflict long before the judge even stepped through the chamber doors. The soft shuffle of papers, the hollow echo of footsteps in the hallway, and the breathless stillness of two families clinging to their collapsing sense of home all mixed together into a tension that clung to the wooden walls like humidity. Judge Sempson entered with slow, deliberate steps, his eyes scanning the faces waiting before him. He had seen hundreds of landlord-tenant disputes in his career, but even from the bench's elevated view, he sensed something different here. The energy wasn't combative, it was exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from one argument, but from months of surviving one blow after another. He settled into his chair, folded his hands, and looked at the two sides. Ryan stood stiffly, hands clasped, shoulders tight from shame and fear. Caitlin shifted anxiously beside him, unable to hide the panic swirling behind her glassy eyes. The landlord's attorney, on the other hand, held a stack of documents and the posture of someone who came prepared for a standard, procedural eviction, but quickly realized this was not going to be standard at all. "All right," Judge Sempson began, his voice steady, but not without warmth. "We're set for a final settlement conference. Have you folks managed to resolve anything yet?" The attorney shook his head. "Not really, Your Honor. Emails, yes. Resolution? No." And just like that, a simple question cracked open the complexity beneath. The attorney outlined the case. 5 months of unpaid rent. A non-payment action initiated months earlier. A second hearing. Claims about uninhabitable conditions, lack of a certificate of occupancy, state licensing issues. Denials from the landlord, a 30-day notice already served. An offer on the table to drop the money judgment if Ryan vacated in 20 days. Judge Sempson listened quietly, absorbing each detail, watching the expressions of the couple in front of him. The way Ryan stared downward as if bracing for a blow. The way Caitlin's breath shortened whenever the words vacate, eviction, or judgment echoed through the room. Then he turned his eyes directly to Ryan. "So, where are you?" Ryan's voice cracked slightly. "I'm already in the process of moving. Most of my belongings are out. I'm only there right now to help my wife pack the rest." "Wife?" the judge asked. "Fiancée," Ryan corrected softly. But, yes, that correction alone said everything. He wasn't trying to mislead or manipulate. He was simply overwhelmed. But the next revelation dropped like a shockwave. "And you're living there with your 2 kids?" The judge asked when Caitlin stepped forward, double quotes, "Yes, Your Honor." The landlord's attorney blinked. He didn't know what began as a simple eviction case suddenly wasn't simple at all. The judge leaned back, eyes narrowing. "All right, now we have a problem." Because an eviction case filed against one person cannot magically remove people who weren't named, especially children. And suddenly, what should have been a procedural case morphed into a humanitarian crisis. Caitlin stepped up nervously. Her voice trembled but carried a truth the courtroom wasn't prepared for. "I was planning to stay. I was waiting on my tax return so I could talk to the owner about buying the trailer. I work for him too. Or at least for his landscaping company. I see him more often than my fiancé does." Another shock. The attorney's eyebrows rose. The judge's head tilted. And Ryan sighed, because this was the moment everything tangled together. "So you work for the landlord?" Judge Sempson repeated, stunned at the revelation. "Yes," she said. The attorney shook his head, murmuring under his breath. "That's news to plaintiff's counsel." Of course it was. That detail, like many others in this case, lived in the cracks between official paperwork and the lived reality of people, barely holding their lives together. The judge clasped his hands. "Let me make a suggestion, because at this point, constant back and forth is just burning money and time for all of you." He asked a single question that hovered above everything. "Are you planning on vacating the premises?" And Caitlin's Answer shifted the courtroom's emotional weight entirely. I wasn't planning to. Not until I get my tax return, so I can try to buy the trailer and fix it up. My kids like the school. My son's been there 3 years. I don't want to uproot him. And I don't have a car right now, so I can't even get to work properly. I was hoping the owner would consider selling it to us, and we could build a stable home. Her voice cracked. Ryan's jaw tightened. The judge went silent. This wasn't an eviction. This was survival. And yet there was mold. Bad mold. Dangerous mold. The kind that eats through walls, warps floors, infects the air, and slowly poisons the lungs of anyone breathing inside. The landlord's side insisted it was uninhabitable. Caitlin admitted her kids no longer used their bedrooms because the mold was too dangerous. She told the court the roof leaked for months, that repairs were delayed, that the trailer deteriorated piece by piece. Judge Sempson stopped everything. He didn't care about unpaid rent. He didn't care about the legal technicalities. He didn't care about which party was right anymore. He cared about the kids. Too. Children ages 7 and 4 sleeping in a living room because their bedrooms were too toxic to enter. Leaned forward and spoke with a firmness that carried more gravity than any ruling he could make. Let me be very clear. You need to get those kids out of there. Caitlin froze. Ryan swallowed hard. Even the attorney went still, because the judge wasn't speaking as a legal authority anymore. He was speaking as a human being, and over the next minutes, he broke things down with the clarity of a man who had spent decades balancing justice and humanity. The reality of the building's condition, the urgency of relocation, the role of emergency housing services, the possibility of condemnation, the need to protect children above all else. He offered resources. He offered guidance. He offered time, but not endless time, because children don't have endless time when they're sleeping near toxic mold. He set a future hearing date. He delayed judgment on money. He prevented an immediate eviction order since people still lived inside. He aligned the legal process with human need instead of bureaucracy. And then, with a closing message that landed like a protective hand on the shoulder of a struggling family, he said, "Call today. Don't wait. Your kids must come first." The courtroom became quiet, deeply, almost painfully quiet. A silence that didn't come from fear, but from the emotional weight of a judge who refused to let anyone fall through the cracks. And that's where the story began to expand, not just in legal terms, but in emotional depth, in the invisible trauma this family carried, in the landlord's frustration mixed with genuine concern for safety, in the judge's effort to balance compassion with responsibility, in the tangled complexity of poverty, paperwork, and survival.